It's your boy Ancient Albatross here again with the Cypher Unlimited crew. We have our usual suspects of AD or Alpha Dean. We have Spiggs 18 or Anthony, and then your boy Ancient Albatross. I said that already, but behind the scenes here tonight. But yeah, just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, be sure to follow us here on Twitch and subscribe to us over on YouTube. It is a great help for our channel, and we really appreciate all the support we've gotten so far. But without further ado, Dean, what are we doing here tonight?
We haven't done this in a while, and we're going to get back into the swing of things. And It's Only Magic, the latest project from Monte Cook Games. We're going to do a walkthrough. Me and Ant, been bouncing back and forth on how we wanted to switch up the way we handle these, bring a little bit more value to it, if you will. So we're going to try this out tonight, and you guys tell us what you think later on. So without further ado, It's Only Magic. It's an absolute feather in the cap of MCG, just like, all their toolkit genre books. This book is broken down into sections with chapters within those sections. Each chapter builds upon itself and adds to the book overall usefulness. The book has a lot of standard, things like an introduction, which is the author's time to bring you into his thought process and approach to this book. It goes into a bit of detail about what motivated and inspired the author, as well as his vision for the book. And without further ado, we're going to just jump right in. Part one starts off with world building, and what do we have to say about that?
All right, first, let's backtrack a little bit. For those that don't know, It's Only Magic is MCG's modern fantasy, urban fantasy toolkit book. The art is hella cool. The whole book is hella cool to begin with, and we'll start breaking down the chapters as we go along. The one thing that I will say before we even get going is that, Dean, I think you could agree with this. The layout, even in the very beginning, looks hella cool. So, I just want to give props to Bear before we even start moving forward. What do you think?
Absolutely. Listen. I should have said that too. You're right. The layout is brilliant. The color, it's interesting because there's a lot of pastels and a lot of like watercolors. And normally that's not a thing that I like. But this book, it just works, and it brings the book very vibrantly to life. So yes, on that note alone, just the look of the book, it's pretty. It's a pretty book.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. I'm normally not a huge fan of like the monotone and the dull colors, but for this it works because it gives you that witch coven feel. So yeah, I absolutely agree that I tend to like a more vibrant like color scheme, but this works for this setting for sure. And the cover is freaking awesome. All the white book covers are awesome though. I've never seen a bad MCG white book cover. I don't think there is one.
No, the white books, like I said, I think that aesthetic of using the less is more, the silhouettes just work really, really well with these books. And it's kind of a staple. So, if somebody pulls that book out, oh man, I'm in for a treat. Somebody didn't use a toolkit. So, yeah.
So, we're going to go down through every chapter. We're not going to dig deep into we're just going to give you a general idea of what's in each chapter. So the first chapter of the book is titled Modern Fantasy. And this is where they set the stage for, the entire book as a whole with the first, the introductory chapter. It talks about the tropes, ideas that fuels the concepts of a modern fantasy setting. So the sections reference TV shows and reference other books and reference media that could be used for inspiration for your games. Like they mentioned Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Supernatural, stuff like that. They give you examples of real monsters. They give you magic versus technology, or how to mix a combination in the form of two, like techno magic. The section outlines ideas for multiple types of modern magical realms and examples of where would you find your inspiration. It covers monsters like from real, the techno magic, secret magical worlds, near modern realms, magical superheroes, supernatural investigation, non-human societies, and multiversal settings. Basically, this sets you up to say, hey, look, these are all the different subgenres within It's Only Magic that you could play. Like all the other toolkit books, they just give you this is how you do modern fantasy, and what you do with it depends on the players and the GM. But it actually gives you the framework and explains it really well. How to play a modern magic or modern fantasy game.
Yeah, like Anthony said, it's really cool because it really opens a door in the way that particular the world building section of the book is really like almost just over half the page count in the entire book. So they really go into depth with this first part of the book. Chapter 2 in this part of the book is building.
Hold on a sec, Dean. Before you go, I just want to know, there's a magical superheroes explanation. What did you think when you saw that? Because I know you're a super freak.
Oh, it was perfect because what they mentioned was, if I wanted to run a game that was, Doctor Strange or Constantine, but a full-blown aspect of a world that's fueled by that without like necessarily having the rest of the superheroes. So by them using those two very well-known examples was great. But then, they do talk a little bit of like Dresden or something like that, where, you don't normally look at Dresden as a superhero, but in the sense of what he does in the world, he could be. You know what I'm saying? So it really it puts things in perspective. That's what I really like about that, that opening chapter, the modern fantasy chapter, because it literally just kind of blanket speaks to modern fantasy in all its myriad aspects, which is really cool.
I think It's Only Magic and Stay Alive might be the two best toolkit books for incorporating in any of your games. Because I think though, out of all the other white books, those are probably the two that come to my mind immediately, that no matter what I'm running, I should have that book with me because I could always add elements of either one of those things in whatever game I'm running.
And I'm just going to add, as you said the two white books, but then the other book that you should always keep in your toolkit, always on the side, is your copy of the Weird. Because the Weird is going to add, especially to those two books, and I can agree with Anthony in that respect, because as much of a superhero fan as I am, don't get me wrong, I love Claim the Sky. It's a great book. Everything that I would want in a superhero book is there. But Sean did it with both of these books. Both of these books literally had me reading them from cover to cover more than once. They kind of draw you in. It's almost like a story within the tools that they're giving you, and I mean, that's perfect segue into, this next chapter was building your own fantasy world or your fantasy setting. You're given several topics to review, but
Ding, scroll on are you controlling the...
Oh, yeah, let me bring it up. Let me bring up chapter 2. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
So chapter 2 is great. Now look at the artwork, got a satyr sitting up there playing the panpipes. What's really cool is that, even here, it's broken down into its subsections, and those subsections are all hyperlinked. So it's easy to get to anything that you want, especially if you're using a PDF. Now for me to continue on talking about it, like I was saying, this chapter gives you a lot to review, topics to review in of itself, but it has you ask yourself the classic who, what, when, where, and how questions. So
this chapter is basically how to build a modern fantasy setting, correct?
Yes, exactly. That's literally what this chapter is called, building your modern fantasy setting. It's all the fundamental building blocks for your world. To name a few of the sections in the book, magic, people and magic. Does the world at large know about magic? What is the cosmology of the world itself? It continues on into some mechanical aspects. It talks a little bit about ciphers and stuff, but they get into that further down in the book. But they talk about how ciphers can be applied to the world in of itself, like we've done in the past. Your ciphers could be potions, they could be scrolls, they could be, say you were running a modern fantasy based on Japanese myth, and Japanese myth used to have the little the little scripts that you set on fire and throw them out. And those type things. All of that stuff is talked about in this section, and it's actually laid out. Believe it or not. I mean, when you start looking at it, it's really only like eight or nine pages, but it's 8 pages of lots of things to ask yourself, and helps you organize those thoughts into something cohesive, into a cohesive outline. So that's a.
What I really like about this chapter is that it starts bringing up, without actually giving you the mechanics behind it, which are later in the book, but it starts bringing up like common tropes and mechanics that you expect in a Magic game, right? Like they start bringing up cantrips, they start bringing up familiars, stuff that, if you want to run a Harry Potter game, or if you want to run, a more like traditional fantasy setting where wizards and sorcerers have free spells like cantrips. They don't give you the mechanics in this section, but they let you know that it's possible. So you know what to expect the further you read down the book.
Yeah. I think it's a solid section, and I think it's done in such a way that, it becomes, honestly, it kind of becomes like part of your lexicon when you start thinking about building any setting, actually. And that's the other thing I wanted to say about this book. I was probably trying to save it for the end, but I got to say it now. The world building tips that they give you in this book can be applied to any setting you want, any genre. This book, when I say MCG keeps upping their game, you would think, you come up with a formula, this is what these books are about, but they're always adding some other element to take you as a storyteller to another level, to try to bring another experience to your players. And players who have embraced Cypher System, who have these books, it's a lot of advice in there for them, again, that will just enhance the experience. Like what Anthony was talking about last night, Tuesday night, about having a great game. This is stuff. There's stuff in there about having that great game, about being interactive, about being, a part of the story, integral to the story, and it gives you lots of tips to, facilitate in both directions as a player and GM.
Dean, can you go to page 20 on the PDF, 18 in the book?
Yep.
Like every other white book, this is one of my favorite sections in all the white books. When you want to run a game and you don't necessarily have the inspiration or the idea to start like whether it's a new campaign. I always love all these tables that they provide you. All the white books are great at this, and this one is no different. You can roll a table to get your base setting, and like we always do in our things, let's roll it out. I'll do the first one. You do the second one.
Get the dice, Anthony.
Yeah, okay. I'll do 2d10s. I'll do the first D, and you do the second. So the first thing we're doing is our
a setting subgenre.
I'll tell you what I got. Ready? 22.
22. It's multiversal. So the subgenre is multiversal, which that's kind of cool. So that means, now your game actually has tiered aspects. So you can do it if you want to do it like, the Marvel universe where every world is similar, or could you actually have these like the completely disparate worlds, kind of like if anybody familiar with feng shui, where they could be set in 3 different time periods or something. You could just choose 2 worlds like Fringe. See,
You know what was funny? What came to my mind immediately when I saw multiversal was sliders.
Yep, that's another one. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, you rolled the location.
Right. Location that we're going to start out in 47, and 47 is a
monastery. All right.
Theory.
Okay, so we could be actually. When I think of monastery, I think we might be demon hunters or devil hunters.
Or see, for me, because I'm old, I go back to the old TV show. Remember the TV show Kung Fu?
Yeah. Oh yeah, those are 2 different types of monasteries.
Exactly. I was just thinking that, but I'm just gonna write everything down so we can go over it at the end.
I'm gonna do significant events. I got that was a 3 and a 10, so that will be 31.
31 is
Magical night.
okay. So maybe it's the one night of the year that the stars align for something specific. Some specific thing that happens. Maybe this is when the gateways between the worlds open. And you can pass through or something.
And you got roll the last one, the knowledge of magic, and then we'll move on.
Ooh, what did we get here? Knowledge of magic. The last one I wrote, what I wrote was a 90 and open secret.
Oh, that's a good one. That actually works with the monastery theme that everyone in the monastery knows, but not necessarily everyone outside.
Yeah, not the world at large.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. We got a multiversal monastery that, on this magical night, the secret that basically you can pass between worlds.
Once a year, once a night, or once a week. We can even do it once a week. Like only Sundays at a specific time can you travel through worlds. So if it's a campaign, you have the adventure on that one day, and then the rest of the adventure is prepping for that one day. So right. Something happens, you go to this world, and you have to do whatever you have to do within 24 hours, or you immediately walk back to the monastery. And if you don't accomplish what you need to accomplish within those 24 hours, the next 6 days you're just contemplating, what you left in this other world. As a GM, you could put some players in some really emotional states if you did something like that. Like you could have an NPC captured that's a friend of the party's, and they walk without saving them, and they gotta wait 6 days to go back to see what happened to that person. That would be fun. That's just an idea.
That would actually be I like it. I like that a lot. Yeah. Oh, and you know what? We can even have fun with it. What if, but what if the day of the week, what if it's not the specific day of the week? It fluctuates, but it's it's only one night a week.
Yeah, it's only one night a week.
And you have to figure out. So if you get stuck in your not your native realm, you've got to figure out what night of the week it's going to happen.
So you could get back to it. What was that, Lord Fowl's Bane? You remember those old fantasy books?
That was the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant.
Yeah. I like that concept of
injury. Every time something traumatic happened.
Yeah, or but just the concept of that you have no control when or how long you're gonna stay in this world.
Yep.
So you could be having this adventure and doing these dramatic things, but you could just immediately walk back to the modern world, and whatever's going on over there is still happening, but you're back in the normal world. You know what I mean? Like that's something cool, like a cool concept to play with as a GM.
Yeah, Now we can, you can continue to build this out with those random charts. So like here we can say, and we won't roll all of these, but it's just kind of cool because there's, who has access to magic or how you get access to magic. Are there other magical type of creatures in the world or beings? The players, you got stuff for the player characters. What are you? Are you a circus performer? Are you a college student? Demon hunters? Yeah. All of these little things. So it's really cool that this chapter, is built like that. And what that is, Anthony had me go to the 20. So now, Anthony, that's right into the new chapter, which is the story and plot, which bring us all together.
Yeah. All right. Let me hold on 1 second. So this is what teaches you how to world build. And I'm not gonna lie, right? I'm curious to see what chat does. But when you open up a setting book or any of these white books, what's the first thing you go to? I tend to go to the creatures, abilities, and spells, and then I come back and absorb everything else. Because a lot of times I feel like, and this is just being an old hat GM, I know how to, I know how to craft a story, I know how to craft a plot, I know how to, build tension. But then every time I read these chapters in the MCG books, I learn a ton. So this is basically, it gives you the building blocks from the first 2 chapters and puts it all together, lets you breathe life into the concepts that you're building in your magical world, right? It establishes the key ideas of having, touchstones, ways of describing tropes and themes, how you could build a meta plot for your world. It even gives you a list of ideas you could choose from or roll randomly, like what we just did. Overall, this just helps you craft a unique world to yourself, and it teaches you how to do so. So it gives excellent advice, and these are the kind of sections that I'm always happy and feel satisfied after reading, because it makes you a better world builder.
And it's kind of funny, you go to the monsters first. And I honestly used to be that way, but because of MCG and my growth, as far as I feel, my growth as a GM, this is kind of the section I look for first now, especially in the white books, because like you said, you just feel kind of good on the side. It feels kind of fuzzy, because you're reading, and that's what I'm saying. When you're reading this section, I can see myself reading a book or enjoying a book, a very strongly narrated book. And, I get into that, like I said, I kind of get into the weeds of world building, and I get excited. And I actually, end up taking notes, because I get a bunch of different ideas going through the section that I can come back to build one-shots, because that's how I build my demo pack. I have, like I said, I've got that file folder, accordion file folder that I carry with me. And literally these white books have been how I ended up building all of those different what's the names.
I love that they give you a list of like 10 or 12 different tropes, and they encourage you to pick more than one trope to combine them to help add that little extra oomph into your story. You know what I mean? And they explain what the tropes are, which is hella cool.
Well, let's talk about a couple of them. Like, if we were gonna, let's go back to the world we just started, our multiversal world. Okay, so let's have, I would say, okay, magic has limits.
Yeah, that was the first, D, that's funny. That's the first thing I thought of too, because we already established the limit that you could only go, maybe they could only use magic when they go to that realm.
Right. You can't use magic in your home realm, but you can use magic in another realm. Again, so like it says no matter how powerful magic is, there are some problems that it can't solve. And then it gives you examples of books or media where you can find those type of stories. So here it gives Magic for Liars or Watchmen, which makes perfect sense. But like you said, that would be cool. So we just said in that world, you can only use magic in the realm you're visiting. So we're gonna add that. Since I picked the first one, you picked the second one. Ant.
All right, this might sound a little funny, but why don't we go with alternate history? It's the same world, but just something happened. Like I mean, we could go with the regular random trope, like King Arthur. That world is the King Arthur universe. Right. So there's still modern
Camelot. Camelot never fell, or like you said, or Atlantis never sunk under the sea. Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So alternate history. And see, this is kind of fun. This is we didn't plan to do this, but this is going to become our new thing. Using the book, we're going to do a walkthrough and building a world, as we go through it, which is kind of cool. So so we just took 2 tropes, and again, alternate history, that was again Watchmen, Jonathan Strange of Mr. Norrell, or the Ninth House. So those are books that you could look at when you're talking about those things. So
I'm just curious, Chat, how often do your guys use the charts? Do you use them to actually craft games, or do you just use them as reading material?
Yeah, we'll give them a chance to answer, and we'll move right into chapter 4. You know, because we talked about chapter 3, but that's what the brunt of chapter 3, what it's all about, is truly building the world. You know, I mean, they talk about story and making it personal. They've got a list of 100 freaking story ideas, you know, to get you started. So you can roll it randomly, or you can just go through. But they got 100, you know, sentences, you know, for a story idea, you know. And I mean, just real quick, you know, same thing for our thing, our one shot. We can say a friend or family member has been kidnapped by a magician or a powerful ritual. So because you can only go through once, what if we just change it to a friend or family member is lost over there, and you're got to go back to try to find them? It's been 6 days. And we could even make it like this too. Over there, you know, it might be 6 days here, but over there, it's been
minutes.
It's been 6 weeks.
Or years. So every adventure you go up, the characters are older.
Right. So time runs differently in the alternate world. We'll put that down too. All right. So again, moving on to chapter 4. Chapter 4 is all about playing and running a modern game. And it goes into depth into a GM's job and what players can and should expect. It's all about approaches. It's all about the storytelling style you set up and what expectations you want to set for yourself, but also what players can expect from you. There's a term that they use in this area called balancing the urban adventure, because they give you examples of how modern fantasy games diverge from classic fantasy. And then, of course, they expand on character arcs, and they add a section called campaign hooks. This is filled with a lot of little hidden gems like that. And I think, you know, when you start looking at it, you know, the concept of, like they said, balancing the adventure. So they get into the thought process of, you know, unlike a regular fantasy adventure or fantasy tropes, you know, it's fight, 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 fight. You know, whereas in this game, it might be a lot of role playing. There'll be a lot of intrigue, and then at the end of that section, that particular scenario, you have a big fight. And then the next scenario, you know, is all about recovery or hiding away because you got your, you know, you went up against a big bag and got your asses handed to you. It's really smartly done.
I think I will say this, right? I think it mentions character arcs, but I think it would have been a little better if they actually gave you some example arcs instead of just descriptions.
Yeah, I mean, I can go with that too, but I like the way they kind of, you know, well, I mean, they did add a few things. You know, they added a couple things, like, for example, you're not independently wealthy, so character arc could be you trying to get a job. Another one could be you owning your business owner. You know, remember the show Friday the 13th?
Dean, but you given the examples. That's what I mean. The book should have gave you some of those examples.
No, the book did. The book did. Mm-hmm. They're in the book. You must have missed them. Mm-hmm. They literally have a section where they talk about owning a business or owning your own home, kind of like, you know, if you wanted to do charm.
Yeah, I'm looking at that section, but it seems like it doesn't put it in arc form. It just says, owning your business requires like startup capital.
I got you. I see what you're saying. Okay.
You know, like it doesn't give you an example of how does an arc work in gameplay. Because I know that there's the assumption that you've read arcs throughout, you know, like the Cypher System core book, but most people, you know, like especially if, like, say, if so, I always view it from the lens of I own the core book and it's only magic, right? Like, say if I only own those 2 books, I'm just saying in the book itself, it would be cool if there was like, hey, this is how an arc works instead of just mentioning arc.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got you now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that's a cool part, and well, and take us on to this is the good stuff. This is where everybody wants to get happy at.
Yeah, but overall, this is just basically this section basically just talks about arcs. It talks about how to flesh out a personal character. This is more of a player section, to be honest. So yeah, like when you're building your character, this would be a good section to totally flesh out your personal character in chapter 4. And chapter 5 is our favorite, or it's one of my favorites at least. New descriptors. How many? They give you a total of 7 new descriptors, I believe.
7 new descriptors, yeah, 7 new ones. Yeah.
So, and the descriptors in the book are race based. They all race based descriptors.
I guess you could kind of race based or species based.
Yeah, chimera, dragon, 10-foot, ghost, a ghost person or a spirit, which is I think one of my favorites. Hunter, member of the Wild Hunt. What else? A shapeshifter, unmagical person. Am I missing any?
The Nyx, they're the water shapeshifters, the Sylph, who are humanoids who have a strong connection to air and weather, and then of course the unmagical people in the world. So, which is really cool when you really think about. When you really think about it, a lot of people are not fans of race as descriptors, and I get it. But the one thing I like about this is what they kind of do is they kind of give you, though, if you take one of these, they also give you advancement for that descriptor now, which is something new, which is something I really like, which kind of brings it more in line with, the idea of you become or of the uniqueness of choosing that idiom, so I think that's kind of cool, personally.
All right, this is a conversation for another time. We definitely I'm not a fan of race as a descriptor.
I know.
I'm not a fan of race as a descriptor. I don't like pigeonholing races to all have the same abilities. The advancement tier actually helps with that. But I will say this, when you make your advancement descriptor closer to a foci, it kind of pigeonholes these descriptors to only magic world, because there might be some unbalancing issues if you're using other descriptors, which makes me more in line to want to separate this as a descriptor and give everyone the option to that, and just create a human version with a tier up system as well. Because it's, like say you get the one guy that doesn't want a descriptor from It's Only Magic. And it was sort of like the same thing with Stay Alive. I mean, not Stay Alive, with the superhero setting, but
Claim the Sky.
With Claim the Sky, that the descriptors were so freaking phenomenal that they were just way more powerful than the descriptors in the core book, that you almost had to take the core book descriptors and give them a little extra oomph, because amazing was better than any other superhero descriptor, or incredible. You know what I mean? Like, if that makes any sense, Dean.
It does. I look at it through this lens, though, Anthony.
And that's power creep for every book,
But no, and that's what I'm saying. But I look at it through this lens. I look at it through the lens of Cypher System finally being the system that you don't necessarily, and especially if you're not the type of GM who runs your game with min-maxing, then those things become irrelevant, because people are going to play the character that they want versus worrying about, he's got more abilities, I mean, hell, you're playing a dragon, of course you should have, more than the average human, depending on, especially just if you're playing somebody who's unmagical or something like that. But in the same breath, they do have stuff for the unmagical in there. They got things listed, to kind of bring it in line, to give you, their own style of power creep. So I think as a GM, this is why race as a descriptor doesn't bother me. It's never bothered me, because I'm not saying you're pigeonholing. I don't look at it like that. I look at it like the original descriptors, using race, you're just giving the person who's playing that particular race, you're giving them the common things that go with that race versus saying this is what they all are.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this though. Every single one of these descriptors are freaking awesome. I know Chat mentioned Ghost. Ghost is a crazy awesome descriptor. You're trained in stealth and intimidation. You're trained in speed. You get the calling the dead ability, right? So that means you're trained in communicating with ghosts, pretty much all the undead and so on, right? Let me see what you have to have. All your you're hindered in physical attacks. Positive social interactions are hindered. This is a cool flavor ability. You're permanently wearing the clothes you had on when you died. But this is freaking powerful.
It's very powerful.
Yeah.
And then what's another thing is they do go into detail on becoming a ghost and how ghost characters are set up, which I also like. It's tied to the settings that they built, but it's easily adapted to anything you want, the way they do it within the setting. So I give Sean and Dominique and Shauna and everybody who worked on this book, I give them mad kudos for crafting something extremely cool and unique, but still allowing you to do things, I like it. I like it a lot. So next chapter is probably the chapter that.
Before you go on, what's your favorite descriptor in this group?
Believe it or not, I think I really dig the unmagical. The unmagical is actually kind of fun, in the sense that you have to, like let's look at some of the abilities they get. You gain the following characteristics, like you were saying about trying to beef up a normal human. Make do with the mundane. So you automatically get a +1 to every fool. Resistance to magic. You're trained in all defense rolls against magic spells and magical effects. Now using magic, you have an inability. Magic failure, unmagical nature means magic goes awry more often. For any task relating to interacting magic, you trigger a GM intrusion on a roll of 20, 1 or 2. So I think, could you just imagine how much fun it would be to play a character flavored like that? I mean, you know what this makes me think about? Makes me think about Carl Kochak from the Night Stalker. It really does, So, so I think the unmagical, I'm going to end up playing a character that's unmagical one of these times.
All right, and the next check, I think mine was the undead one, the ghost.
Yeah.
But I think all of them are hella cool, and I wouldn't hesitate to play any of them. Now that I look at it, I take back what I said. I don't think they necessarily OP. I'm just not a fan. The ones that are race-based, I'm not necessarily a fan of.
I think of it this way. Just take it. Quit saying race. Quit saying race as a descriptor and use it as a flavor. I'm just saying, because racial flavor to me is no different. A flavor is no different than another descriptor, really, in my opinion.
But technically, only 2 of these are like ancestry or race based, if you really look at it. The Chimera and the Dragonkin one.
Right.
All the other ones are just straight descriptors. Because like Ghost could be who is undead or something like that. Right. You know what I mean? Exactly. Hunter is the one who hunts. Right. Yeah. So it's only those 2, really. Like even Nyx could be lives underwater, breathes underwater, or something like that.
Right. But yeah, like I said, to me they're all kind of cool though, in the sense of how they operate. They operate on your, I guess you could say your metachlorian count.
Well, actually, too, they just brought up a good point in chat. +9 wrote, they're not a race. They actually do something to become those things. That's a great point.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. And they actually you know, when they talk about that in the two settings.
Yeah. So that's actually a great point. That's one thing. I'm not very familiar with the setting. So if that is the case, then yeah, then I apologize. I take back the last 10 minutes of what I said.
All right. So now we're going to move on to another section I think people get excited for because, you know, descriptions is a great section. But hey, what was the one thing we always said? If we don't get more foci, come on. Foci are, you know, foci is just freaking it. You know, foci and new character abilities. This book introduces what, 3, 6, 9 new foci?
And these folk are kick ass. Yo,
Actually, 10.
Is a call wizard and ink spells on skins a tool that we've actually like sort of pseudo created ourselves in our games?
Yep.
Ink spells on skin is an awesome one.
Listen,
Like,
I'm gonna tell you,
I want to pick that now. Yeah.
The two that, you know, because like you said, we have pseudo kind of created those two, but Conjure's bullets and Code's magic apps kick ass.
Yeah, I don't think there's a bad one in this group, in this entire group right here.
No, there really isn't. And again, it depends on what your game is going to be all about, you know. So this was a big discussion on the server was about you know, how many foci and, you know, what abilities and so on and so forth that you want. And I tell people, use that world building sheet that Monte Cook Games gives you. Cultivate cultivate 20 or so foci that you want in your game. Another thing that you can do, you know, a lot of times, you know, if you don't want necessarily, you know, fully built out foci, take the foci you like, take all the abilities out that foci, and then just sit them there as abilities that are available to your players to choose from, and let them craft their own abilities, their own foci from that. It's not hard. It really isn't. Give them the low tier abilities, the mid tier abilities, and the high tier abilities. And it really works out well because I do it in my superhero games all the time. You know,
I'm just gonna say it. Normally, when I take one of these white books, right, and I'm saying, hey, we're gonna run a game in Stay Alive, or we're gonna run a game in Claim the Sky, or you know, whatever the setting book is, I'm extremely open on everyone picking what descriptors and foci they want to pick from other books. But I think I would highly encourage, like say I'm doing a one shot in this, that we only use It's Only Magic. Because I think both the descriptors and the foci are all freaking powerful and hella cool. And I would like to see a game just using the descriptors and foci in this book.
And if that was what you wanted to do, Anthony, then I would highly, highly recommend making sure you read the setting and read the included adventures. Because the setting and the included adventures just scream to these foci.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It really will make your job as a GM cake because all the elements to have those incorporated and why they operate and why things are the way they are just are already there. It's already baked in. That's something that I'll be honest with you that I think this white book excels at beyond the others. As much as I love Stay Alive, as much as I love, you know, the vampire rules, you know, the Masters of the Night setting, I think this setting is probably the best seeded setting that, you know, they've given us for the white book itself. It is a great jumping ground. You know, I could see building an entire world based on the Axio. +9, Gus, he says lots of potentially awesome backward looking fantasy application in this book too. Yes, there is. You know, if you are trying to connect it to, say, your fantasy setting, your classic fantasy, it would be very easy to connect a lot of this to it as progressions into the future.
I also think that maybe not so much the descriptors, but the foci could all be claim the sky
Oh,
foci as
absolutely.
well.
Oh, absolutely. They definitely can become superhero foci in a
Yeah.
heartbeat.
Mhm.
So, um, we're gonna move on to the next chapter, which is uh really to me, I might say this is the ultimate chapter because it just did something that we haven't seen anymore. They actually have a whole chapter on flavors. Um, and these flavors are very much magical based. You know, they can be reskinned for other things, but this is like really, really cool stuff. You know, so they have like charms and figments flavor. They have cozy magic, divination, modern magic, and protection. And what I like about it is that say you took a focus like is a car wizard, but you took charms and figments. That could just like add in. So like now your air freshener in your car is a charm. You know that you know let you see through your windshield. See you know see supernatural creatures if you're in the car looking through your windshield. It reveals them. You know, it's just to me it's just the flavor really adds to the storytelling capability.
Did you switch the oh yeah, you did. What page is that? So I could go on
On the in the book, it's
on the
page
PDF.
70, PDF 72 or 71.
Yep.
71. I'm on page 71.
Yep. I think going forward they should redo flavor sections for every. I wouldn't even be mad if they added these flavor sections like the way this is laid out on rather on all the PDFs for all the white books. Because I agree with you, this is the best way to do flavors for a setting book.
Yeah, it's really good. It's I think it's really really freaking cool when you're looking at the flavors and how they like just that first one. Charms and figments. Okay. It says creating illusion and affecting minds of sometimes considered soft magical disciplines as opposed to hard disciplines that manipulate energy or physical matter. It's common for a character with an interest in one to learn a few spells in the other. So, if you look at the first section, it's minor illusions, mental link, impart ideal, abilities that you see in speaker and, fast talk, gold, stuff like that, But when you start getting further on, like look at tier 3, advanced command, illusionary disguise, soothe the savage. Those are powers that you don't really see in any other focus.
Yeah. Let me ask Chad, do you guys tend to remember flavors when you're doing character building? Or is flavors like an afterthought? Because I'm not going to lie, originally I would always forget that you could just add a flavor to round out your character. It wasn't until like later on that I got more experience in the system that I started utilizing flavors all the time.
Well, let the chat answer. My answer to you, Anthony, is flavors have always been paramount in my book, only because the first things I was running in Cypher were fantasy games. And it was like, okay, how do I create a fire magic user? How do I create, a thief acrobat? Things like that. So I was using flavors a lot, and I saw I saw the power of flavors early on. But this to me just takes it to another level in how it's being presented. I mean, look, this new flavor, background music. Come on, tell me that's not hella cool. You create a quiet background music in a short area, loud enough to be heard in a room with normal conversation, but not so loud to be distracting or overwhelming. It's like that's pretty freaking cool. You can play your theme music when you go into battle.
Cozy magic flavor is a good one. This you can round out your you're essentially like, yeah, I'm not really trying to be I'm a sorcerer, but I'm not looking for combat. The divination flavor This is what you build your cleric type, or you have a combat sorcerer, but you want some cleric type abilities to sprinkle in. Modern magic flavor. Yeah, this is the one that gives you the cantrip list. You get to choose 4 cantrips. That's freaking powerful. Tier 1.
Well, we didn't even get it. I didn't even say anything about cantrips. I was waiting for you to bring it up. I'm glad you did. Cantrips, in the way with Cypher System, the way it's done, I love it. It basically speaks right back to my Malvando's Mythic Monte Vicum. It is so freaking cool because everybody can pick up cantrips now. You have to, you of course have a difficulty. There's a difficulty related to it, and then they only cost 2 XP. So you can pick up as many cantrips as you want. You can make that as part of your character storytelling, them growing in magic and so on and so forth. I mean, and the cantrip list is ridiculous in this book as well, and they only cost 1 point from whatever pool they're being cast from.
Yeah. I think this book really helped out, which is funny because it's the modern magic book, but I think this book also really helps out in traditional fantasy. There's a lot of elements in this book that you could carry over into a traditional fantasy setting, like the cantrips, like the familiars that weren't necessarily fully covered, and all the other older stuff. Like you could utilize this for Tolis, you know what I mean? Gods of the Fall.
I was just gonna say, in like the covens, for me, covens are actually huge. Old Gus is saying the same thing. Cantrips, covens, and familiars are another really nice backward compatible system for traditional fantasy. But it could be used for the future too. If you wanted to do a sci-fi game, think about it. That's another way to handle a robot companion, or with the familiar rules. Covens, that could be used for secret societies and so on and so forth. It's so much flexibility in what's been put in this book. And as long as you keep your mind flexible, you're like, I guess you could say, just like a smorgasbord. And
They go to protection flavor. I think that's page 78. And look at the first tier 2 ability.
Safe sex.
Look.
The safe sex cantrip.
One creature you touch can have sexual encounters with no chance of causing pregnancy or transmitting a sexually transmitted disease. This protection lasts for 10 hours. Somebody at MCG must be having some freaky one-shots. I love that this even exists in the game.
Listen, you do. I don't know if you remember it, but Shauna did write a book called Sex and Love in the Ninth World. So
Gus wrote the chat went so fast I missed it. Well, Gus wrote, hold on, I was saying because it was pretty funny. He said, in modern magic, we are serious about sorcery transmitted infections. That's freaking hilarious.
Oh, Juggernaut goes, and all of a sudden I want to make a Streetwalker character. Oh my God. Well, just for shits and giggles, I have to tell you, back in the day, a buddy of mine actually made Tracy Lord's Damsel in Distress. You older people know who Tracy Lawrence is.
I just thought that ability was, it wasn't relevant to the conversation. I just thought it was funny.
That's awesome. They have a pretty nice equipment section.
Yeah. I think they've been getting better and better with every white book.
Yeah.
I think Sean started it, when he did Stay Alive, and they, from there on, every white book has been getting better and better with its equipment sections.
It's also they also have a new crafting section, which of course makes sense for a modern
Yeah,
fantasy book because you always got people who want to make spells or people
yeah.
who want to make potions or whatever. This is the perfect way to build an artificer, a modern day artificer or a potion brewer. You know, um, there's that. I don't know if you guys remember it. I know you might remember it. The old TV show Friday the 13th, where
Yeah,
they owned an antique shop that had all these cursed items in it. You
yeah.
know,
That was
um,
a hell of a good show.
it really was. I mean, actually, speaking of this, with this book and the fact that I have been catching the old show on Chill, on the Chill, was it Chiller channel or something,
Yeah.
Creep channel? Yeah, I might have to go back and watch the series again, and then make a couple of one shots based on that. Halloween is coming.
Chapter 9, this is the heart of the book because these are all the plug and play optional rules, right? Like for modern fantasy optional modules. And this is a section I tend to go to a lot because this is when I look at one of these white books, I go, okay, what are you adding new? What are you adding that I could take and move on to other games? And this one gives a lot. Like it really does. This section really excels. You get cantrips, you get covens, you get, like Dean said, a new rule for crafting magic items, a new optional rule for exceeding cipher limits, familiars, and reviving artifacts. We won't go over every one, but let's pick one of these modules.
I want to talk about cantrips. Like I know it started. I think cantrips because I think of everything that's in there, cantrips is probably the biggest deal. And I think the reason why I bring this up is also because this is also can be used to help people understanding getting temporary abilities in game or long-term abilities. You actually have a system now and a listing of things. So now you can go, hey, look, this is a temporary ability, it only costs 2 XP, and this is a long-term ability, can cost up to 4 XP, and the cantrips, like there's 50 cantrips in here, dude.
And it costs 2 XP for your character to learn this cantrip forever, correct?
You're right. 2 XP. Well, there's a difficulty here. Here, real quick, it says, so what you have to do is any PC can learn 2 cantrips by spending 2 XP. How they learn them depends on the setting. They might need to study with a mentor or whatever, but then you have to roll a difficulty against a difficulty 3, and you can use effort or whatever. If you have an asset, which is like a grimoire or something to help you learn it, or a teacher or whatever. But yeah, you spend 2 XP, make that difficulty roll, you got a cantrip, and you got it for life. I mean, just look at the bug cantrip on page 84, the 82 in the book, 84 on the PDF. It says you summon a nearby 0-level spider, cockroach, silverfish, or something crawling pest to spot within an immediate distance. The pest acts normally and appearing in an unfamiliar area probably begins moving around, possibly crawling on creatures. The cantrip doesn't work if there's no suitable pest within a short distance. Action to initiate. I mean, that's really cool, because now you want to distract somebody. You have a, spider just drop down on their nose. Just
The candles cantrip is OD. You create up to 4 candle-like lights that move to your mental commands and no further away from how far you can reach, lasting about 10 minutes. That's if it's a unlimited source. You no longer need torches traveling anywhere. That's freaking hella good.
Right, and you can, and again, that's the other part. You can spend effort to increase the time limits and all that kind of stuff.
The clean cantrip, that's precipitation. I always mispronounce that. But that's basically that. I mean, that became a cantrip in D&D too, but yeah. Some of these are hella cool.
Right.
The only thing I would say is that if you're running like magic and using some of the other abilities, say from Tolis, like in other books, you might have to scour those books and make some of the weaker abilities cantrips.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that,
because some of these look hella useful. So I would scour all the tier 1 abilities in those other books and ask myself, can they be cantrips?
right. I know, and I agree with you. But something else that I noticed with
Did I
these
lose you,
cantrips.
Dean?
No, I'm here. You can't hear me, Anthony?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, okay. I
No,
thought I
I was
lost
just
you.
saying, the one thing with the cantrips that I do notice though, these do all have kind of a modern slant to it, which is kind of cool too. But I could see, modifying them and turning them into, either making them more traditional
Yeah.
um, or vice versa. You know.
I mean, I think a lot of these, though, you could easily take into another setting, though.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying they couldn't be.
Yeah. With zero to none changing of the wording. Because a lot of these are just useful sorcerer tools.
Oh, Gus said I have a bunch of cantrips I'm ready to write soon.
Yeah.
Um,
I love the cantrip concept. I think this is something that Cypher System needed.
oh yeah, absolutely. The new rules module. I mean, this new rules section are really cool. And
Yeah,
here,
hold on. I'm gonna make a prediction, Dean.
okay,
In 2 years, we're gonna be talking about cantrips the same way we talk about companion rules.
yeah, absolutely, I agree.
You know how everyone loves companion rules and say, "Oh, you can utilize it for anything."
Yep.
I think this cantrip rule is gonna fall into that category.
And I think familiars is going to do something similar too, because familiars, the way familiars are set up, are pretty cool too.
Yeah, you want to go to familiars?
Yeah, I go to familiars. So basically, the introduction says, in most general sense, familiars is a creature usually in the form of a small animal bonded to a magical person as a companion. However, a familiar's role, intelligence, and relationship with the person's powers and vulnerabilities vary greatly from setting to setting. A familiar might just be a pet or a comfort animal with no special abilities. They might have an empathic or telepathic connection to their person. They might be an extension of the person's soul, with harm coming to it, causing harm to the person. They might be fully a supernatural creature, able to assist with magical tasks and provide advice. A magical world might only have one of these kinds of familiars or many of them. This section addresses how to gain any of these kinds of familiars using the system and suggests various abilities and characters can learn to change and improve their familiar. So that's really cool. Actual rules for basically advancing your character, your familiar, your companion. Oh man, I think it's great. They got standard pets, unusual familiars, magical familiars, and then they got the section, like I said, about modifying your familiar. Soul bond familiars is, oh man, this is like lots of cool stuff.
Yeah, and the artwork in that section is cool too. I really like the artwork.
Yeah, the pseudo dragon, the fat pseudo dragon.
Yeah.
So, that is another section I think is really a strong section, and is going to add a lot to your games in that respect.
You know what I love about just the Cypher game designers in general is they always try to, from a design perspective, they try to cut out all the XX fat from a mechanic and try to make it as quick and easy as possible to where you're not going through 8 or 9 different steps to do something that you just really want to do, as a character. So they make it a lot easier for you to do the cool shit in the game without needing to, reference 3 books and 4 chapters and follow 9 steps. I want a familiar, dude. They teach you how to get a familiar in 1 page. This is the process, this is the rule. And that's with all their design across the board. And that's very refreshing to me. Even with the crafting magic items as ciphers. Like, they're like, okay, you could craft any cipher. It's 1 plus whatever the cipher level is. So if it's a level 4 cipher, it's a 15 or better on a D20. It's a level 5 pass. Quick and easy, simple, bam, bam, boom, you're done.
Well, Anthony, this is what we talk about, and this is one of the things that we've talked about. You talk about when you were talking about making a fun game, when I was talking about the paradigm shift, that mindset. That's something that Cypher excels at. And I think when people start to embrace that concept, that the mechanics it's not necessary to be mechanically heavy, because most stuff that we try to do is flavor in the first place. And the things that need a mechanic don't need a very hard mechanic or a very involved one to make it work. So what you're saying is just perfect,
Yeah, so I think just so we're not hopping, we're already like an hour and a half in. But if we're not hopping, I think all the rules modules are hella cool, and definitely check them out and use. I think I will probably use all of them. I wouldn't even mind having a game where everyone had a familiar.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't be a bad thing. Here, the last section we're going to talk about then, because and just to let everybody know, the last section is reviving artifacts. This is something that I think was needed, and this again can be applied to any game. So now of course, artifacts have depletion rolls.
Dean, is that that's part of the same section?
Right, but that's the last. Oh, I'm sorry. It is part of the same section. But I'm saying reviving artifacts is really cool, and it makes a lot of sense, because some things can be recharged. It makes sense, that wasn't a convention that they put in the original game because that came from Numenera. And in Numenera, the idea if you depleted an artifact, maybe the technology no longer existed, or the magic no longer existed to revive it. But here you're talking about a world where this is commonplace. Even though artifacts may not be common, but the recharging of them are, but it might be at great cost. So I like that, aspect.
And once again, it's a very simple rule. If it's a D100, it's a 1 in a D10. If you use the D6, it's double the depletion number. It's a 1 and a 2 on a D6, and so forth. Very simple, easy rule to do. All right, and we got to do this section. It's the creature section.
Creatures and NPCs.
Yeah.
And it says right here, this chapter is intended for the GM only. So all you players, keep your little, bugly eyes off of this section. But I will say this section, I'll say this, I'll let you look at the chart. They've got a lot of cool shit in here. They've got pollution goblins. They've got corporate mages. They've got hunted cards.
I will say this though, D. First of all, there's a ton of great peaches in here, but I always like to show you the other perspective. Just from this is the one section where the pastel colors kind of hurts it a little, because the cool monster art doesn't pop as much on the page with the layout as the other books does. I know that's like a minor thing to harp about, but it does. I do notice it.
And yeah, that's true. But here's another cool part to this. I love this other section, other creatures and NPCs for a modern fantasy game. So they literally kind of get into the stuff that, you normally don't see, guard dogs, a barista, a restaurant retail worker, an undead claw, just odd things that you would throw into a modern fantasy world. But we were talking about, some of the artwork. I mean, I get what Anthony said with the pastel in the background, but
the artwork is hella cool. Like, all the images they use is hella cool, but it doesn't pop out the page.
I mean, the bargainer fiend, I see those as those crazy little imps that would, harass you. I mean,
like Hail Mary.
Let's go to Hail Mary. Gargoyle. There's a hunted card. Yeah, Hail Mary is a little bit frightening, and I'm sorry you say her name and She steps out the mirrors, yeah, no, I'm not doing it. Shut up. Don't even, it's just like Beetlejuice. You better not say it.
I think all these, and there's not that many reprints in this book, which is another, like, I know people that tend not to be, like, super Cypher fans like us, always harp on I know Eric always harps on the reprinting of monsters. This book has a lot of original monsters. You saw the Internet Demon? That's hella cool.
Let's go back up right quick.
Pollution Goblin.
I told you, the Pollution Goblin just caught my eye almost immediately. Witch Fox, a Zorp, know. And then, of course, there's an NPC section. We jump into the NPCs. They got some great NPCs. Changelings, Corporate Mage, Demon Hunter, Pharmaceutical Sorcerer. I mean, and look at that. I love the, I could see that on a Buffy the Vampire Slayer show or Grimm or something like that.
Yeah.
That's just good stuff. And then we move on down to the next section, which is ciphers, which, again, another great section, manifest ciphers form in a modern fantasy, magical phone apps, energy drinks, caffeinated beverages, lost dog flyers, bullets, DVDs, stickers, notebooks, sports paraphernalia, pills, candies, greetings cards, cosmetics and costume jewelry. I mean, that's just a listing of what of a few things, but can still be used. And then they give you some traditional fantasy ones that you could bring up, like as like lost items, or you found them in a you find them in a crypt or something. So they had candles, potions, scroll, rune plates, tattoos, mirrors, charms, powders and crystals, books with words of power.
Oh, D, hold on. I just want to chat's been saying a lot of jewels. Zeldaddy wrote, the Internet Demon reminds me of Videodrome. Yo, dude, I was thinking the same freaking thing.
Yes.
Yagos, well, it's like the 90s never ended. That's funny as shit.
Yeah. Speaking of that, did you?
Zeldaddy said this could be used for running Big Trouble in Little China. Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Real quick, I don't know if you guys saw it, but that's a Kickstarter that's coming. They actually have a 5e product, which is basically D&D with an 80s theme. Everything in the book is going to be 80s themed. So that's going to be a 5e product that I'm going to pick up.
I'm going to say, why? Because you can do it in Cypher System. Save your money, dude.
No, I'm just going to take their stuff. Everything that they write, cypherize it. Oh, yeah.
I like the examples, like you said. I don't know if you mentioned this, but the examples you said, because I was reading chat, Dean, I'm sorry. But just like that, I love the examples they gave you to use as ciphers, like a DVD, to the setting. And I like using that because I always like creating my own ciphers. Or even if I'm using a cipher from the book, reflavoring it to make it fit whatever setting I'm running. Yep. So I like that they give you examples on, how to make a cipher form. Like they give you suggestions, and those are always helpful.
Absolutely, and like I said, they got a whole thing: fidget spinners, bus plane tickets, carved figurines, needle and thread. I mean, just an old stamp, a wooden spoon.
Yeah, and this book didn't really hold back. They really killed it. Shauna, Sean, and Dominique, because look how many ciphers you get in this book.
I mean, and it's a 240-page book. They didn't. Every page is, really, really full of goodness. I mean, of course, we move on to the last section, which is artifacts. And what I like about this section, the artifacts literally speak to the nature of modern fantasy. So what I'm saying is, when you watch the movies and the TV shows and stuff, and somebody has, the ancient artifact or whatever, it really kind of, it speaks to that, and it has its own rules for it, again.
Yo, D, hold on. Before you jump off, I just want to go to Cypher's back for 1 second.
Okay.
Because they introduced a new kind of cipher, which we should mention. It's the software ciphers.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's a hell of a cool idea. That they didn't give you many, but just the idea of making like malware ciphers into malware or just apps on a tablet could introduce a whole new genre or setting within the site. You know, anytime like, it's the same way how subtle ciphers came out of nowhere and now everyone loves them. This could be something, any modern game could be now incorporating their ciphers through software, which I just think is hella cool. It's a cool concept.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, you know, and it doesn't, and they don't even have to be magical. Now you can give somebody a malware
boost.
or a malware cipher. I mean, if you're playing cyberpunk, you got to introduce a cipher that's an interrupt, and you plug it into their jack and mess them up for a few seconds, or a paralytic cipher or whatever. Yeah. So that's good point, Ant. Good point.
Yeah, you play in a modern game that has no super abilities whatsoever. You could still give them ciphers through computer apps.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Think about it.
I know, because you had said cyberpunk. It doesn't even have to be cyberpunk.
Right, that's true.
You could be playing any modern game and still have ciphers make sense through apps.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, isn't there a cipher that always you always know your way, whatever direction you want to go to? That becomes a Google Map app on somebody's phone.
Yeah, exactly. Or or like you said, you can introduce a worm into a system, to shut it down or something for a few minutes. Yeah, it's good stuff.
I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I thought we should definitely mention that.
Oh no, that was a good catch, because I didn't mention it. Mm-hmm. But artifacts, like I said, I love how artifacts are handled. They have a power rate, a level of power, and a power for their depletion. Again, it's simple: D6, D10, D20, or D100. Automatic depletions, if those things happen. But here's an example of a modern cipher. So accessories sold separately. Articulated action figure that comes equipped with a number of accessories such as a gun, armor, handbag, laptop, computer, dazzling outfit, and so on. Come on, is that not that? Go ahead.
Scroll down so they can see the artwork, because that's a cool ass picture too.
Cosmos Sky, I mean, that's just freaking cool as hell. You have a little automaton, running around doing your bidding.
How many artifacts do they give you? There's a lot here.
I didn't count. I didn't get an actual count. But there's at least 20, I think.
Yeah, there's more. I'm scrolling down.
Yeah, there's quite a few. And that's what I'm saying. But here's another one. Like, if you look at the Howering Blade, long black blade with a carved stone in the handle. See, I see that being as something old that you found in a crypt somewhere. Whereas, the accessories not included now, that was a modern cipher that, some...
Oh, they give you a ton of artifacts.
Yeah, they really do. I didn't even look at how many there were.
No, I think this book might actually have the most artifacts. I thought that Godforsaken had a lot of artifacts, but this is kind of ridiculous.
Right. And so we don't keep you guys too much longer. We're going to do like we always do. We reviewed the book. We talked about all the great stuff.
I mean, we didn't review the book. We just walked through the book.
That's what I'm saying. We did our walk through the book and talked about all of the, cool aspects that we've found and so on and so forth. We've been talking. We're going to actually do a series of talks later where we actually go over all the settings in the white books, because that's just a whole nother discussion. Yeah. And this particular book, not only does it come with a setting,
it has 2 settings, right?
It has 2 settings and 3 adventures.
Yeah.
And so I definitely want to go over these. I really dig the way the settings are set up. As a grand overview, both settings, just work. You can plug them in together if you wanted to, and the 3 adventures are absolutely just great ways to introduce people to the Cypher system. Luckily, I'm going to be playing next week Saturday. I'm going to be playing with Maia.
Yeah, I know, Maia. Thanks for inviting me. You off my Christmas list.
And so I'm going to be playing in that adventure with her on Saturday soon, and I'm really looking forward to it. My character is Sergey Vargas.
Are you using the descriptors from the book?
Yep, uses descriptors. Oh, nice. He's a chimera, and he's I call him a hex heater, which is basically an adept, but he conjures bullets. And quick read on his backstory: he had a twin sister who got swallowed up through a vortex when they were in the military on a mission, and now he's been living in what's the name, the town, and trying to get his life back together because he just can't deal with the loss. But we don't know if she's really dead or not. So.
All right, so what's your overall, like, we did the initial walkthrough. I haven't read the adventures or the settings yet, but I looked through everything else. I pretty much read everything else. What's your initial take on It's Only Magic?
I get
have you had some pros and cons?
The pros for this book, I'll give you I'll give you the cons first. My biggest cons with this book would be I kind of wish it was maybe 100 pages bigger, because I would have loved for him to expand upon some of the things in here a little bit more.
What do you mean by the setting or the actual stuff that you get in the book?
Well, I mean, some of the stuff you get, if we look at the section where the cantrips, covens, crafting magic items, exceeding cipher limits, I would have really liked to see more on covens. I would have liked to see more on familiars. I really could have used some. I mean, they gave us a ton of cantrips, but I would have liked to see maybe some more ideological things and application. Not that I can't come up with stuff on my own, but it's just so nice when you have that stuff. The coven section really spoke to me. Like I said, I can see using covens and other things for secret societies and so on and so forth. Of course, the settings, both the Axial and New Grimsby, could have definitely used some more pages because they are just solidly written. So that's my negatives. The positives in this book is, damn, did we get a lot of new shit? I mean, we got. I mean, this book is jam packed. This is a treasure trove of goodies.
I love Dean's negative. Dean's negatives is I want it more. He's such a fanboy.
Yeah, I am. I ain't gonna lie. I am. Call me a fanboy. I don't care.
My positives is pretty much what you said. We got so much new shit. Even just looking at it, I think this might be your best bang for your buck in terms of what you get out of all the white books, which is saying a lot.
That's what I'm saying. I don't mean to cut you off, because the reality is those other books give a truckload.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This might be your best bang for your buck of if you really think about it, of extra rules, of extra abilities, extra ciphers, extra foci, artifacts. And I personally thought you got the most from Godforsaken and Stay Alive in terms of new stuff in the white books, new usable stuff beyond just using it for It's Only Magic, right? And I think you get more in this book than any of those books, which is a good sign because that's telling us that each white book is gonna be one step higher. It's gonna go further and further. So that is a super positive. My one negative is I don't know. I'm gonna say it. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the layout, dude. Like the way it's the way the art looks compared to all the other white books. The cover is dope, but I don't know. Maybe I gotta keep on looking at it. But since they kind of raised the bar, right, with Old Gods and like all those other books, that the layout is just perfect, then maybe I'm spoiled.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not even the girly colors. I just don't think that the art pops off the page. Like if you pick up Old Gods or you pick up God Forsaken or any of those other books, maybe layout's not the right word. Because
it's the art direction.
Because I think the art is phenomenal. I just want it to pop more.
Well, again, like I said, it might be just a me thing. It might be just a us thing. Like I said, I've just never been a fan of pastels. I don't, I really don't care for pastel. What, and this has go ahead.
You know what it might be to me too? It's all the white negative space on the pages. Like the negative space.
Well, see, here's the thing. If you look at this image, right? And we've seen this image before. Now, the regular image, the unmuted, the unpasteled image, I really like. Now, if you look here, look at the art here, where that's like the regular art, the regular picture, and they've got the sepia in the background. I dig that. I think that works, but when you have when the artwork itself is kind of muted, it doesn't work for me. But I understand what you're saying. But I can get past it because the content in the book is just so freaking great.
And I'm not trying to say that the artwork is not good because I think the artwork is phenomenal. And I'm not trying to hop on this is a like a deal, but I personally think that It's Only Magic has jumped up to my second favorite white book. You just get a shitload of stuff in it. Like if somebody, I'm just an Uber fan to Stay Alive, and I'm an Uber fan of Sean, right? So anything Sean does, I'm a freaking love. But if you told me, you told me before this book came out, name 2 white books you would recommend someone buying. Dean knows my go-tos are usually Stay Alive always, and it's either God Forsaken or Claim the Sky. I think now it's going to be Stay Alive and It's Only Magic.
Oh, like I said, this I can't even say either one of those are my favorite, Stay Alive, Claim the Sky, and It's Only Magic are holding a very special place in my heart. To look at Stay Alive and, just remembering when we first got that book and reading through it, I was so hyped that night. I read it twice in the first night, and then Claim the Sky, of course, Supers being near and dear to my heart, and just so many good things come out of that book. That book is jam packed with a lot of good GME material.
This book, though, that's what I mean. This book is right up there with that.
This book is like, I think it's the most balanced one because this one to me is way balanced as far as player and GM. It's just so much for both.
That's actually a great. It is the balance of this book. This book is probably perfectly balanced. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because to me, Stay Alive had so much for the players. It had a ton for the GM, but it had so much for you as a player. And that book made me go out and write, the Umber Earth book, you know, because it just was that much cool shit in there. This book has like a balance of player and GM stuff, and then it even has this aspect to me of where it brings you together at the table. You know, that's what I'm looking at, is how it's going to bring us together at the table. So this is a badass book, you know.
So ultimate goal, no, either way, we gave our pros and cons. I think this is a must-have in your Cypher System collection. Without a doubt, it's we might have to. We haven't ranked all the books in over a year, so I'm curious to redo. When was the last time we did a book ranking? But I'm curious to see what the book rankings are going to go, because I don't know. This might be a 4 book or a 5 book.
What I think we should do, I think we should wait a little longer.
Yeah.
And because I don't know, because I would love to get Neon Rain. I want to see what Neon Rain and what's the name do, because and I'm excited because Sean read Neon Rain.
We are on the hour 30 minutes in. I just want to say final thoughts. 100% get this book. We'll like Dean said, we're gonna do a video on actually checking out all the settings in the white books. So, you know, we're already almost 2 hours in, so we appreciate you. But I'm a definitely thumbs up on this book. How about you, Dean?
2 of them. 2 thumbs up.
How about you, Chad? Is this something that you're interested in? If you own it, tell us what you thought about it. If it's something that you're looking to buy, I hope that you know, this little walkthrough of the book showing you what's, you know, some of the stuff that's in there is going to encourage you to buy it. And if you saw something you didn't like or you don't think you're going to buy this, let us know that as well. We're always curious to see what everyone's opinions are on all these books.
Absolutely. And real quick, to answer your question, Maya, yes, the official Cyberpunk book is coming. You will be getting that in the form of Neon Rain sometime next year. Yeah, we can't wait for that. We actually got to play a one-shot with Sean K. Reynolds to test out something, and the ultimate damage, the ultimate effort mechanic that they introduced has been being used all over the server ever since they introduced it.
Yeah, and you can watch that video is up on YouTube. You can definitely watch it. We actually streamed that. Last but not least, Anywhere Door is still live on BackerKit right now. MCG has their own realm on the Moonbeam server. Go check it out. We're going to be involved in that project along with other great content creators like Mr. Terrence and Ken Hupp. So we'll all be streaming over there as well as Twitch, and they'll be having open chat areas over there. So if you're interested in supporting MCG or even supporting us in this new adventure, because we're going to handle the moderation on the tech side of things, go check it out and give them a donation. And go to our YouTube. Give us a subscription here. If you like us and you like what we do, give us a subscription here or Twitch, or go to our YouTube channel and like, share, and subscribe there. We're still trying to build up both platforms, so any help we could get, we'll greatly appreciate it. Join our Discord group. It's the largest fan Discord group for all things Monte Cook Games. But if Discord is not for you, join our Facebook group. Not as big as our Discord, but still great conversations being had there daily. Our videos are always free, but if you want to help us out financially in any way, give us a little donation on Ko-fi, or go to our online store and pick up some cool Cypher Unlimited merch like the shirt Dean got on. And last but not least, we love you guys.
Yep. Thank you guys so much for coming by, listening to our little walkthrough here. Thank you, Spiggs and Dean, for walking us through it. This book seems amazing. And I'm definitely going to dive in a little further after this little walkthrough, because some of these sections look bomb. But that's neither here nor there, because it's time to say goodbye. So thank you again, everybody. And from us at the CU, we will see you later. Peace.